The United States, under the leadership of President Trump, has not hidden its all-out and one-sided support for the Israeli regime. Trump's decision to relocate the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem broke with decades of official U.S. policy line to maintain the facade of neutrality in the ongoing conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. The U.S. has also not shied away from protecting Israel at the Security Council. Earlier this month, Nikki Haley, who's known for her utter support for Israel, vetoed a Kuwait-drafted resolution that called for measures to protect the people of Gaza.
So by continuing to be on the Security Council, the United States routinely manages to throw a spanner in the works and stop other nations from advancing their policies and from achieving any kind of a consensus on matters which the United Nations was in effect established in the first place to do.
Now reports have emerged the US may quit the UN Human Rights Council over what Washington describes as the body's anti-Israel bias.
The United States, like Israel itself and like other US allies, has always looked dimly on the UN Human Rights Council and indeed on the International Criminal Court.
The Geneva-based UN rights body is to open its 3-week session next week. And Nikki Haley has been tasked with a special mission to present Trump administration's demand to the body over Israel. According to reports, Washington is angry with the Council's alleged anti-Israeli stance.
The United States has always been entirely interested in promoting its own interests, and those interests, certainly since before 1948, have been defined as including propping up Israel.
Last month, the body voted for a probe into the killings of Palestinian protesters by Israeli forces in the Gaza Strip. Since late March, Israeli troops have killed scores of Palestinians during the Great March of Return protests. And yet Israel has not been held accountable for the killings. The US is now trying to shield Israel from the probe.
Because the United States is not interested, in fact has never been interested in formulating international policies on issues like human rights and geopolitical considerations through anything approaching an international consensus.
Earlier this week, the UN General Assembly voted for a draft resolution condemning Israel's brutality toward Palestinians.
We want our civilian population to be protected. Is that a crime to ask for?
It condemned Israel's use of excessive force against Palestinians and called for protecting Palestinian civilians. And as usual, the US rushed to the support of Israel.
The nature of this resolution clearly demonstrates that politics is driving the day. Such one-sided resolutions at the UN do nothing to advance peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
The UN General Assembly vote has been hailed as a success for Muslim countries in protecting the rights of Palestinians.
The United States takes the position that it's an exceptional nation and not bound by international law. It relies on, at best, coercive diplomacy, but for the most part engages in unilateral action supported only by its allies and other nations which it's able to coerce support out of.
This as the UN Security Council has consistently failed to stand up against Israel's brutality.